Good evening and welcome to another happy Spurs Monday. We are starting to get used to this feeling on Mondays where we look forward to these episodes. We're pumped, we're ready, and we're back with you tonight for what is going to be discussing another impressive victory at the weekend and one that's vital in the push for top four. So before we get into that, I'll introduce tonight's guest to you. As you can see, we've got our regulars. Patrick, how have you been, mate?
Good week, fantastic.
Good weekend.
Great weekend. I mean, all the results went in our favour. Arsenal obviously dropping points. Well, they lost. Man United losing. West Ham, even though we're not even talking about them anymore, they're losing as well. And then us capitalising and picking up the 3 points. So couldn't get any better. They say if Carlsberg made weekends.
Yeah. This was one of them, wasn't it? Eh? This was one of them.
Definitely.
Top stuff. And joining Patrick tonight is Jacob. Jacob, how have you been, mate?
I'm all right, mate. How you doing? Yeah, I've been good. I've been really good anyway in my personal life. But then when you have a weekend like that, it's just, I had my family visit around and that. And it's like as soon as they went out the door, and all the kids went home on Sunday, I was just sat in the living room with a massive grin on my face. I was cleaning the house, just smiling. I was just like, what a weekend, you know what I mean? So,
There's nothing like a win like that, is there, mate? I tell you, eh?
I went to work this morning as if I played in the match, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. And, happy to now discuss it on the Monday evening. Top man,
Jacob. And joining us tonight, making his COYS YouTube debut, we're going to call him Harry, but obviously, as you can see, Hasper 92 is joining us. How are you, Harry?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm buzzing, mate. I mean, can't really complain with a weekend like that.
We can't, can we?
I mean, it's just everything went our way, and it was just brilliant. And the game, so we were just clinical.
It wasn't it? Yeah, another great weekend. Like I say, we're into all the juicy bits around that. So that's the panel tonight, bringing you their views. Obviously, some social media bits. As you can see, the guys on the screen have got all their Twitter handles. So make sure you go and give everyone a follow. Some great stuff comes out of Twitter there from these guys for you. Obviously, make sure you go and subscribe to the COYS at YouTube at COYS.com and then on Twitter, obviously at COYS_.com. So let's get into this one tonight. And we've a couple of people have mentioned it. Patrick, we went into this weekend and as a Spurs fan, you probably could feel a little bit of trepidation, couldn't you? Because we go into the weekend and we know Arsenal are at home to Brighton and you're thinking potentially Arsenal should come out of that one with 3 points and then the baton is handed over us to match that. Unbelievably, we go in and Brighton pull out a brilliant performance, get that result that then makes this Villa game 10 times more important than it was before that match. Now, we all know as Spurs fans, pressure and big games is often not something that Spurs and that go together very well. So was there any element of fear in you thinking this has gone too well and could we be about to lay obviously the ultimate here we go and not put the performance in we needed? Or was you still as confident we'd be able to handle that pressure?
You know what, Carl? As you know, I've been quite confident with my predictions, and I also had put this pencil down as a win. But like you said, as the day started to unfold and the story got a bit juicier, Arsenal dropping points, and I know 2-1 kind of flattered them because Brighton played them off the park. But it was a weird one because Brighton hadn't scored in like 7 games.
Yeah,
so you're like, Arsenal going to turn them over. But the story flipped on its head. And then as Sky Sports started to do their countdown to the game, it's like Tottenham have a brilliant record at Villa Park. They haven't lost in like 10 games. And I'm like, oh man, they're giving us a kiss again. As soon as they come out with those stats, it always goes the wrong way. And we scored early. So I was like, okay, this Tottenham team are made different. They're built different. And then we were under so much pressure and it was just mountain. But hats off to Hugo because no one's really talking about his performance. But for me, he was the man of the match because he kept us in that game. And without Hugo's saves and pulling off save after save and just controlling, and even saw him barking at defenders, making sure people were like, without him, we don't get anything out of that game because we would have been 3-0 or 4-0 down before we even knew it. So, but to be fair to the boys, they really pulled it out the bag because that was such a clinical display. And that is you know, you don't want to be too big-headed or jump the gun, but that is a real like turning point for me. The fact that everyone else had dropped points and we knew what we had to do, and then we went out and you beat a team 4-0 away from home. And Villa were no slouches. Like, even though we beat them 4-0, they played well. So the fact that we come out that game 4-0 up, it just goes to show that I think now something is starting to really click here. I mean, I said this before anyway, but now I'm really starting to believe that this team that there's something there, and they're just focused and they're tuned in and they just know what to do to get the job done. And it's great to see, man, because definitely before that's a game we 100% bottle, for lack of a better word, and we drop points. We either lose it 1-0 or 2-1, or we just don't turn up and we get turned over 2 or 3-0. So yeah, to beat them 4-0, I mean, it doesn't get spoken about enough. That's ruthless. That is really like, we spanked them. And even though they played well, and that's the thing, even though they played well, Gerrard even said, you know what can I say? We played well, but they're just so clinical and ruthless. And when teams start to fear that, you already 1-0 up before the game's kicked off. Teams are now going to be scared of us. We're battering teams 4-0, 5-1, 4-0. They're going to be scared to play us now. So that already gives us a little advantage going into it. So I'm loving it. All I'm seeing from rival fans is that, oh man, even the Liverpool boys today on the podcast I've been on, they're like, I'm really scared to play Tottenham. That's the one game I'm scared of, because they know that we can punish them. So yeah, it's great to see, Carl.
Yeah, Jacob, like I say, was there any, you know, given what had gone on before our game, was there any kind of, was there any doubt in your mind, or was that little creeping doubt of like, oh, we've really got a chance to lay a marker here and put some breathing space, but could this be where we find out if this team have improved slightly under Conte, and do they have that mettle, or could we find ourselves slipping up again?
Yeah, I kind of mirror what Patrick was saying, because I woke up in the morning and all I kept saying to myself was like, we just got to beat Villa. Don't matter what happens around us. Just don't even watch it. Just see how it goes. So then I remember I was sorting a few things out in my yard. Thought, hold up, Everton are playing Man United. So literally I turned on the telly. Within 2 minutes, Everton had scored. So I was thinking, well, Everton have been so bad this season. I didn't want to get too excited. So I thought, right, let me put the shopping list together and get out the house. And then I got out of the house, got to the shops, and I was like, oh, Everton actually won. So I thought, okay, because I said to myself, I'm not going to put notifications on, because I know the minute I do it, I'll get a message saying 1-0 Arsenal, whatever.
Yeah, I'm the same thing.
It got to the point I'm shopping now, and then I get a text message from my mate going as if Arsenal are 1-0 down, and I was like, really? And then as soon as I put the radio on, they're like, oh, it's relief at the Emirates. So then I was just like, what? But then it was Martinelli who scored. So I was thinking, well, I'm not listening to it anymore. But then I didn't even realise that it'd been chalked off. So then obviously it's got to the point now where my mates text me going, you must be loving life. It's 2-0. I was like, bro, which game are you watching? I was like, ah. So I was a bit gassed, man. I remember this old woman looking at me when I was like getting a bit excited in Aldi.
And we've seen you get excited, Jacob, before when Arsenal concede. So I can imagine you're running around the shop punching people or that.
Imagine I'm doing it by the bread.
Yeah.
So then anyway, but then like Patrick said, it's like as soon as those results came in, that's when I like kind of froze for a bit. I got home and I thought, oh, this is going to be one of the ones where Tottenham just ain't gonna do it. And then as soon as we were 1-0 up, I went, pretty mad. But then it was just like we was getting peppered, and I was just like, this is going to be one of those games where we've took the lead and we've messed it up. But then I think I got confident when it got into half time, because I just thought about what happened at Newcastle. Like Newcastle weren't all over us, but we were pretty much piss poor and very lethargic. So I thought, if Conte can just do the same thing and get them into gear, then it'll be sweet. And then couldn't have asked for a better second half. Kuzelewski, that guy's different, man. Because any other left person on their left foot, I'm left-footed, I'd have tried to square that. I couldn't believe he found that finish. And yeah, like I said, when it got to the point where we've gone and won 4-0, even till now, I'll mirror what Patrick says. I still got to work, and I was like, 4-0. I thought I was going to be cagey, man. You know what I mean? It was like, don't get twisted. I'm not going to sit there. I've got a few Villa fans that I speak to, and it's like, I'm not one of these people that's saying that it's 4-0 with peppered you. We peppered you for the second half, but
they were good, man, and they deserved. Yeah. I wouldn't say they deserved to get something out of the game, because if you lose 4-0, you lose 4-0. But they definitely gave a good account of themselves.
Definitely, we as a team have got to learn from that, because on one side, it's like it's good that we're resilient and Hugo was on form. But if Hugo isn't on the form like that, and you're playing teams that are coming, like, you know, imagine if we go Anfield and Liverpool coming at you like Villa did, we'll be 5-0 down because they're just as clinical, if not more clinical than we are, because they got so many people that can score goals. You saw them against City last night. Like, realistically, City at one point, it could have been 3-4-1 up, but then they've just got people like Jota that didn't do nothing in the game, scores. Mane didn't really do much in the game until he scored. So it's one of those we've got to learn from it, but it's good that it does build your resilience because, like Conte said, we got absolutely peppered, but we dug in, the captain held us down, and we ended up coming out second half and battering him.
Yeah, Harry, you know, like I say, I think it is hard, isn't it, as a Spurs fan, because there's always that nagging little voice in the back of your mind saying when everything's gone right, it's going too right, and we could just be about to go and put in one of the worst performances and actually not take advantage.
At least I'm sort of similar to One Up Top in terms of, like, I kind of wanted to avoid the other team's results during the day. So I was doing everything possible not to look at the scores. So, like, during the Everton game, I went out for a family meal, like, just before they scored, I think, like, half-time. So I think they scored just after half-time, right? I think. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. So we went out, and then I checked the score as I got home. I was like, oh, wow, Everton beat United. So I was like, this is good. And then on purpose, I put a movie on to avoid Soccer Saturday. and then I suddenly get these notifications on my Twitter, and then just like, oh shit, Arsenal losing, blah, blah, blah. And Martinelli got that equaliser that was disallowed. I was like, shit, oh no, it's 1-1. And then I was like, I'll go back and watch a movie now to see how it goes. Put it back on, it's 2-0 to Brighton. And I watched like the last 10 minutes. I don't know if you saw Dawson on Soccer Saturday when he was like, oh my god, they're going to score. Oh no. And I'm just sitting there like biting my nails in like the last 10 minutes of the game. Like. But then, like, as you say, like, as Spurs fans, we're kind of like used to just like crumbling. So like when we took the lead, I was sort of, because we sat back and we tend to do this a lot. We take the lead and we just like sit off, like, and get complacent. But we kind of weathered the storm and got into half time and sort of regrouped. That's how I felt it went. And then we came out in the second half and they were mentally in like the right state. As Conte likes to call, like, to kill.
That's right. If you sniff blood, go for the kill, yeah.
But I do think like Hugo basically kept us in the game in that first half because they were just all over us. And I was really scared like Coutinho was getting so much room for me because he was just hurting us so much. Yeah. And I think on another day, maybe it could have been different, but Hugo kept us in it for me. And then I just think the front three just did their thing in the second half and we just won the game. But I was confident that we were going to win regardless of like whatever happened to the other results. But I thought it would be a bit closer. But maybe because the other results went our way, we sort of had the momentum with us even more. And that's probably why we saw it like with a clean sheet, 4-0, and we just got the job done. You just get on to the next game now. It's just game by game. Just keep winning, keep going.
That's it. You can only do what you can do, can't you? You can only do what you do. Like you say, it was nice, and obviously that early goal massively helped settle everything down, doesn't it? Because it was one of them games you go in and think, right, we really got a chance to lay a marker down, but we don't want a tense 45 minutes back and forward. Bang. Before you know it, we're 1-up with a great finish from Son, after that shot from Kane.
But I felt like we couldn't get out in that first half. We just couldn't get out.
Yeah, once we went 1-up,
the players weren't coming out. Like, as if I was in the stadium, if I'm at the Hotspur Stadium, when we call it White Hart Lane, I'm always screaming at them to come out because we tend to like sit too deep sometimes when we take the lead. It's like we're inviting pressure on, and I felt like that was happening in that first half, and I was red alarms in my thoughts. I was like, oh my god, we're going to concede now because we're just inviting them on. But I think because we just weathered the storm somehow for like half an hour and we got into the dressing room, he must have regrouped and he must have given them some sort of instructions and they came out and just did the job. But like One Up Top said, on another day against someone like Liverpool, we would have probably conceded like 3 goals.
I think what he would
kind of balance in the way you view it in the same sort of thing, like, I mean.
Patrick, do you think, obviously, we score that early goal, and obviously that settles the nerves a little bit. Do you then think there is naturally that thing in a team where they then say, right, next 10 minutes or so, we don't do nothing stupid, because obviously the worst thing you can do is score an early goal to kind of settle your nerves and then find out, oh, right, here we go. we've let them straight back in it again. So do you actually think we naturally will go, right, early goal, this was just what we needed, especially when you consider the pressure around the game, that you then sort of say, right, do we just then go nothing stupid for 5-10 minutes before we then maybe think about going again? What do you think on that? What do you think kind of then caused the drop off after that first goal slightly?
Because for me, I'm sorry to interject, but it kind of happens like a lot with us. We get a goal and then we just get complacent. And I know Conte recognises it because he wouldn't be in every presser saying we need to kill the opponent, because he obviously recognises something's going on.
What do you think it is then, Patrick?
I don't know. I think totally against what Haz is saying. I think that we were popping the ball around. We were trying to dictate the game. But to be fair to Aston Villa, you just got to give them credit. They pressed us. They were quite relentless. I think their game plan was just to essentially just take out the better players. They were crunching, tackling us. They were just trying to really get under our skin. They were just being dirty. And it's almost like, I know Gerrard was a top player, one of my favorite players, but he had a real mean and nasty streak to him. And you saw Villa just try to do that. He tried to get under our skin and literally ruffle our feathers and take us out. And for a bit, it did rattle us. We essentially conceded possession.
Patrick, do you think we kind of didn't help ourselves in the fact that we tried to play football at times in really silly positions when we're under so much pressure, and you're going, listen, there's a time for that football, but then there's a time where you need to say, listen, we're well under it here.
Exactly.
A few just long, just for now, get us up there, and then we can defend from there again.
Definitely. And I was about to allude to that. It's a really good point, because literally in the second half, as soon as the half started, Romero, who's a very good ball player and centre-back, he was just spraying the ball over to Kane or to Son or to whoever's up top, Kulusevski. They were controlling it, bypassing the midfield. And I know we've got the players to play both ways, but sometimes you just need to do what's obvious. Romero was doing that, bypassing the midfield, and it gave us a bit more control. And then once Aston Villa then have to readjust, then we can mix it up again. So sometimes we invite the pressure onto ourselves and we pop it around the back and do all of that. Sometimes just, bypass that, keep it simple. Because I don't think we sat back for the sake of sitting back. I just think that Aston Villa played well. And sometimes you just got to, roll your sleeves up and get on with it. So, credit to Villa. I do think it's a weird one because, like I said, you get beat 4-0, but they actually played really well.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, after the game, there a lot of Spurs supporters were upset with Graham Souness after the game. Although I didn't think he actually said anything too bad, to be honest. When you actually watch that clip, what he says is what we all thought, and what you've alluded to there, didn't you, Patrick? Is if you're a Villa fan, you're looking at that first half thinking, how have we not at least come out of that one level at least, but two, if not, one or two to the good here. But then what he also went on to say was, but this is a different Spurs. They're more resilient than that now. And, that front three they've got. So I think a lot of people have kind of misunderstood what that message was there. But Jacob, he's come in for a lot of criticism over the last couple of months, maybe, for some certain performances, especially Wolves. Hugo, I mean, without him in that first half, that game is gone, isn't it? At half time, you could easily have been going in 4-1 down at half time, and that game's gone. I mean, some of those saves, and the one where somehow the ball seems to be behind him when he manages to get a hand up and push it over the bar. What a performance from Hugo in that first half!
Oh, he was brilliant. He was like, my mum was in the kitchen next door, so she could hear me making all sorts of noise. And my mum was like, "Why are you making so much aggressive noise when you're winning?" And I was just like, "Oh man, if it wasn't for Hugo, our captain, turning up, because it feels like when you need Hugo to turn up a lot of the time, it's like in big games, and he won't always make a mistake, but you always think, yeah, Hugo could have done better. But in that game there, man, like that save when Coutinho tried to catch him out for the free kick.
Yeah,
that I think personally, I'm not even being biased. I think a lot of keepers get there a fraction too late. You get there half a second late, that goes over the line, and the ref's watch is going off, and he just got there like a cat. It was brilliant. Like, I just remember just looking at it half time thinking we've been so bad, but if it wasn't for Hugo, God knows what I'd be doing. So he was brilliant, and it's like, it's good that he's doing things like that, because remember Conte a few weeks ago when we reignited our chance of the Champions League football. We made it quite clear that everyone needs to step up, but the people that need to step up are the big boys in the team. So, he was talking about Lloris, Kane and Son. They're effectively people that you would put in the world-class bracket. There's other players like Romero that are going to be up there at some point, but those three in their positions are world-class. And he just pretty much said, you pretty much got to carry the team. And ever since he's done that, Harry Kane's, pulling out more assists than De Bruyne. Son's 3 goals away from Salah, and Lloris puts in, fair enough, Wolves was terrible, but he puts in a performance like that, and he's redeemed a lot of bad performances for me for that, because those are the things that you need your keeper to see. If you look at a team like Atletico, they've got a keeper like Oblak, and sometimes Atletico are getting peppered, even though they're a defensive side. But the guy is just, for me, probably the best in the world. So when he's on game, there's times where Atletico can go 1-0 up and get peppered the whole game. But when they've got a solid defense and they've got Oblak, you ain't going to get through. So that's the same with what you want Tottenham to do. Of course, we've got Kane, Son, Perrin, you've got Kuzelewski, brilliant, Bentancur. All these guys are gelling together, but there's no point in the midfield and the 4 and beyond smashing it if you've got a back 5 that ain't doing the job, and Hugo doing what he does, yesterday, because we did get peppered. And I think to myself, if you're going to go Anfield, I think Aston Villa prepared us for Anfield, because you're going to go there and you're going to concede a lot of chances, because even though they didn't play brilliantly against Man City, when you look to the stats, their expected goals was higher than Man City's. So that says a lot about what they do, whether they're playing well or not. So salute.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, Harry, obviously, we that could be the game, couldn't it? And that half of football could be the half of football we're going to look back at the end of the season and say that was where the Champions League spot was won, and we owe that down to Hugo. And that's a great recovery, because only the week before he was getting heavily criticised for the first goal we conceded against Newcastle, wasn't he? So that's a massive comeback, and like I say, there's no telling how huge that first half performance of his could be come the end of the season.
I think for me with Hugo, the one thing you can't question is his shot stopping. It's just top class. You can't question that. My issues with Hugo lie with his kicking and stuff like that. But as a shot stopper, I don't think there's a better keeper in the league, to be honest with you. I think he's the best. And I was a Spurs family, right? And my brother really doesn't like Hugo. But at the same time, we're not going to get a better keeper than him, at least right now. And it's not priority position. And he was man of the match, at least one of the man of the matches against Villa, because he literally single-handedly kept us in that game in the first half. Some of the saves he pulled off, like you mentioned with the Coutinho free kick, was just unbelievable. And he did make up for all his mistakes in the previous games. But I think with keepers also is people are more likely to pick up on mistakes rather than the saves, because saves are just a given, really. He's going to make a save. But the one time he makes a mistake, everyone's going to call him out and say, oh, how dare he make the one mistake in 10 games?
Well, like you say as well,
you know what I mean? So it's
for a goalkeeper, the mistake is always a goal, isn't it? When you're in goal, that one mistake normally leads to a goal. So it's highlighted even more when you make a mistake, isn't it?
You're talking a distribution over 30 games. He probably makes, say, 5 mistakes, which may result in a one match-winning goal, let's say, or one goal which result in a draw or something. But at the same time, he's making at least 5 to 10 saves a game. In the Villa game, it was probably more and probably of a higher quality. So you can't really question that with Hugo. His shot stopping is second to none.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Patrick as well. That sort of performance from Hugo again, I think makes you kind of realise that in the summer, the keeper position is not a priority right now for us, is it? That's not a position where I think we need to go out this summer and get ourselves a new number one. That can wait another season at least, can't it?
It's not a necessity for me. I know we've been linked with Johnston on the free, so that's not a bad one because he's English and he's a free transfer. But it's not a necessity to go out and spend 50 million on a goalkeeper right now for me. We can.
Yeah, Patrick, would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't want us to replace Hugo. I've said it time and time again. I think he's a top goalkeeper. I know he has his faults in terms of distribution, and sometimes he can have a moment of madness. But when I look at all the best goalkeepers, they've all got faults in them. And like you said, Carl, they get judged more harshly because their mistakes do lead to a goal. Even in Liverpool Man City game yesterday, Ederson, who's rated as one of the best keepers in the world, he was quite poor for De Bruyne's goal. He should have saved that. Sorry, not De Bruyne's goal.
Allison.
Jota's goal. That was it. Jota, where Jota took the shot. He should have saved that if we're being harsh and judging him by the standards of a top goalkeeper. Hugo Lloris for the free kick against Newcastle. I mean, luckily it didn't really bother us in the end. Yeah, he got a hand to it, but he should have tipped that man the post. But these things happen. More often than not, Hugo is 100% reliable. Like Hazard saying, in terms of shot stopping ability, his reflexes and reactions are second to none. And he's still a top goalkeeper. There's not many better than him. And funny enough, I looked at the.
It's like Galini.
Yeah, we need to replace we do need a better backup keeper. I know. I think our youngster coming up for the academies, he signed a new contract. So either we give him a go or we do get a much better backup. But yeah, Hugo's still a top keeper for me. He's our captain. Hopefully he's leading us out to Champions League football next season.
Yeah, Jacob. So obviously the first half was tough, and obviously what made it even tougher, and I don't think any of us yesterday would have envisaged just a few months ago being as upset as we were about the news of Doherty now going to miss the rest of the season. In last season, or even possibly 3-4 months ago, people would have been sending Matty Cash flowers and thank you notes. But as it is, the guy's now getting almost like, death threats on putting Doherty out for the season. But Villa certainly went with a tactic in that first half, wasn't it? To be very, very physical and definitely lay a marker down with each tackle they were going to make.
They did that, yeah, but it's like I've got no problem with that because that's, in a weird way, that's how I play football. But it's like realistically,
nah, stop it, Jacob. You need to chill.
Jacob goes out to Maine.
What I'm saying is when I play football, for instance, it's like if there's a ball to be won, you're
cleaning out everyone.
No, I mean, but I promise you, I never think to myself I'm going to injure anybody. There's times you're on the pitch and you're getting cussed. But it's like for me, I'll go in strongly, but I'm not trying to break your leg. Do you know what I mean? I've never injured anyone to the point where they've got to come off the pitch, and I'll just win the ball, and everyone knows it's a strong one. So it's like the way Liverpool play. Liverpool, they press, they're aggressive with it, but you don't look at anybody in Liverpool's team and label them as a dirty player. Whereas when you look at Aston Villa, you don't really label them that, but it just got to the point where that game, there was a clear agenda, like, give them something a little bit more. And there was loads of challenges. That Matty Cash one, I just looked at him and thought, if that was the other way around and Matt Doherty did that to Matty Cash, the way Tottenham's lucky is he would have got sent off.
The thing is, with that, when you look at that tackle, and we'll go into the Mings one in a minute, and then obviously the Ashley Young one, which for me was the worst tackle of the day, the Ashley Young one. All those tackles you can look at and go, well, the guy does win the ball first, but it's then just the follow through, isn't it? Where you sort of go, the follow through is what's over the top. The same with the Mings one. Yes, he wins the ball, but when you're going through with that sort of momentum and speed and your foot where it is, there is always a danger that, well, when you actually then meet the player after that ball, if the player's got his leg planted at this point, that's a leg breaker coming up. So, Harry,
yeah.
What was your feelings when you're seeing these tackles go in? And...
I watched Gerard's pre-match interview, and he mentioned a lot about we need to go out there and make our fans proud and all this palaver. And I felt like that was sort of reflected in the way they played, in the sense they were like extra aggressive with us. And I play football myself, right, in like 8-a-side, 5-a-side, and I play with better players against me, and I do I'm probably more aggressive with them than I am with, say, someone else, to be honest with you. And I felt like that was sort of the same thing with them. I'm not like legislating their tackles, because their tackles were like over the top, right? Yeah.
I don't think if the COYS.com pod team ask anyone for a game of football, I'm thinking you should avoid this. We've got two hatchet men on the squad.
For example, the other week, I went into tackle with some guy, right, and I just completely missed it. Completely skinned both his knees or something like this, completely missed the ball. And in a real game, that would have been at least a yellow card. But I only went in that way against someone like him because I know he's better, right? And I felt like the Villa players, because obviously they know Tottenham quality-wise on paper are better than them, and I felt like that's why they went more aggressive with us and left something in tackles, because they were just trying to make themselves known that I'm here.
Yeah,
And
Patrick,
the tackles were like over the top, right? And they were even worse, especially Ashley Young one. That was horrible. I felt.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't go for the ball at all.
Yeah,
like, could took him out.
Yeah,
like,
the Ashley Young one for me is one that it's a shame we can't have a sin bin in football, because that's a tackle where you go, he knows there's no attempt at playing the ball there. We're not disguising. This is just, I'm taking you out, mate, and I'm going to kick you. And when Kane went down for a minute, I'm thinking, and he's holding his ankle. You're thinking this is trouble. Patrick, do you think there was a game plan of lay one on them early?
Yeah,
try and get these guys off their game by kicking them off the park.
100%, and I alluded to it earlier. They definitely came with intent. I mean, you saw harsh fouls. You saw harsh fouls on Reguilon. Obviously, Doherty got a few. Kulusevski, they were going after him. Harry Kane. Højbjerg as well got a few meaty challenges as well. So they definitely they were just hatchet merchants. They knew they couldn't go toe to toe with us. So what they were trying to do was knock us off our game, try and get somebody fouled off or injured, and then just take it from there. And there was no intent. Yeah, they got the ball, but I mean, we've gone past this stage of, if I got the ball and I take the man out, it's okay. We know that you can't do that in football. If you go in recklessly, your foot or studs are high, the velocity of the challenge, there's so many more factors now about winning the ball. I mean, they say that tackling is a dying art because you can't do these things anymore. And I just don't understand how the ref let all of those challenges go. Mings
for you, Patrick, if Romero makes that tackle that Mings does, do you think that gets looked at even more?
100%. And I don't understand why some people from the Spurs camp are on Twitter saying, if Romero does it, we're all high-fiving and this and that. But Romero, how many yellow cards has Romero got this season?
Well, I think Romero's kind of calmed down for me. At the beginning of the season, he was more hot-headed and he was going to challenges more in that sort of style. Now he's sort of calmed down. It's become more controlled aggression, if that makes sense.
It's 3 games in a row where Romero hasn't picked up a yellow card because he was on that fine line.
And thankfully, I think this next game he's past the point where he can't get banned. So
game 32, match week 32, it resets.
Yeah, that's right.
He's actually gone past that now, which is cool. But yeah, Aston Villa weren't trying to play football, and it's a shame as well because, we thought we was gone past that day of but it's dark arts, and the referee for me, he was poor because he didn't handle it. If he sets the tone early with that Matty Cash one, they know that they can't do it. If they do it, they're on a yellow and then they're walking a tight rope. If they want to do it again, they get sent off. But when he just let them crunching tackles go, it set the precedent. And unfortunately for us, we don't play that type of football, so we didn't try and do it back. I know Romero has always got it in him, but realistically, that's not our game. We want to play football. So we unfortunately ended up suffering. And yeah, when Ashley Young went in on Kane like that, and it's already 3 or 4-0, I'm thinking, oh man, this is the part where our season starts to unravel. But luckily, Kane got up. Thank God. I hope he's okay. I saw him over in the Masters.
He was at the Masters, so he seemed to be all right, didn't he?
Fingers crossed. Had a few days off. We go again on Saturday. Luckily, we came unscathed in terms of everyone apart from Doherty and but yeah, it was horrible from Villa, and I'm shocked that they got away with it. To be honest, I don't know at this day and age, but with VAR as well, how you get away with those things.
I was thinking back though, like in the early 2000s or 90s, whatever, would tackles like this be just normal?
Yeah, they would be. They'd be part and
I think there was a point of the game where tackles like that, because no one even you didn't even think about it twice, did you? I mean,
tackles, didn't they?
I mean, when you look at some of the tackles from the 70s, you think, God, wow, you'd be done for manslaughter nowadays, wouldn't they?
Vinnie Jones.
Yeah. So when we talk about those sort of tackles that go in, and obviously the young one on Kane, Jacob, do you think Conte will need to be careful in the running now for the rest of the season? That the one thing that I was screaming at one point was, once we get 3-0 up and 4-0 up, you're thinking, get Harry Kane and Son off that pitch, because the job is now done. The game is won. These are the guys that are going to see top 4 over the line. They've done their job today. now get them off that pitch before something else, before the inevitable could happen, and you get a guy thinking, well, I'm going to make a name for myself now by taking Kane out for the rest of the season. Do we think we have to play carefully now for the season? When we get to the point where games are won, Conte needs to be looking at, right, I need to get these key players off the pitch, possibly, and save their legs for the next game before we do, because we know, Kane's been perfect up to now this season with those ankles. There could be that point where he's just going to get done at some point, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think you're right there. And I think there's a lot of times where, not just Conte, we've had managers that if Harry Kane hasn't scored or Harry Kane's on for his hat-trick, we could be 3 or 4-0 up, but we keep him on just to do a favour, which I get. But it's like, if we had adequate backup in that position, or he wasn't so instrumental to the way we play football, then I'd get you, but you just got to bring him off, man. Like when it's 4-0, I think what Ashley Young did at that time, and he sees Kane walking, I think that'll wake him up a bit, because if we're playing Brighton and we continue to score in the rich vein of form that we are doing, even if Kane hasn't scored, you've got to bring him off, man. You've got to bring him off, and you've got people that are coming off the bench that, I'm not saying that they're nowhere near Kane's quality, but they've got a point to prove. So, you look at Stevie Bergwijn, he's come on, he's scored a couple of goals, he's looking to prove himself. Lucas Moura could do with an extra 20 minutes, because these are guys that, one, trying to prove themselves, and two, trying to stake their claim back in the team. And if you keep it competitive with the substitutions while you're resting Son and Kane, then at least, our squad isn't great, but you keep it fresh, don't you? So I generally think that it needs to do it, man. I get it. If it's 1-1 Anfield, you're playing at one of the top 6, or in a North London derby, the last person you're going to bring off is Kane. But when you're 3-4-0 up, man, just let him have his reception, because even though he didn't score, he hasn't scored out of the last 9 goals we've scored, but he's been probably man of the match in both in terms of the way he's played. So, he's got Conte's got to do that, and I think he'd be a bit more mindful of that if we take an extravagant lead again.
Yeah, I mean, because Harry, before, you've always got the impression that Kane has kind of been the one who leads what a manager does with him. I remember, a cup game when we were like 6 or something 0 up, and Kane's being brought on with 20 minutes to go, and you're thinking, what are you doing? Because for me, a strong manager, even if Kane scored 2 and is looking for his hat-trick, at 4-0, I'm saying, listen, Harry, I know you want a hat-trick, mate, but the job is done here now, and we've got a big game coming next week. So, yes, you want a hat-trick, but I'm bringing you off for your own good and the team's good. Do you think that that will be something that we do have to manage, isn't it?
I think with Kane is like gives us such a huge psychological boost being on the pitch that it is very hard to take him off. And like you said, obviously we don't have any backup for him, so that's another issue. But also, do
you need backup at 4-0 in a game? That's not a case of need, because not be funny, at 4-0. I'm not interested in bringing someone on who's going to score another 3. My view now is I just want that guy off the pitch so that he doesn't pick up an injury. This game's won. I don't want to score more. See the game out.
I agree with you, but also with Kane, he's sort of our source of creativity in the team, and he's our only creative player. So I know we'll say we're 4-0 up, but I don't know if you remember when we were 3-0 up against West Ham.
Sorry, I disagree with you there. Kulusevski is a very creative player, and since he's come into the league, no one's created more goal-scoring opportunities than him. So I know people aren't really looking at it, but the assists and what he's creating speaks for itself. So yes, he's not Harry Kane. I get it. He's not playing passes, but he's still a very creative player. So yeah, you get him off and you go again.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it's sort of psychological for me, in the sense that, say, if, for example, we're playing against Brighton, right, and Kane wasn't starting, or we were 2-0 up against Brighton and we took him off, I think they'll get a psychological boost and think, oh, we can get back in this game now because Kane's off the pitch. That's I'm trying to like Conte's point of view.
I think, like I say, at 2-0 maybe.
Like, we're 4-0 up, let's take him off because he's going to get injured. But like for Conte, maybe he thinks, oh, psychologically it's best to have him on the pitch because of just what he represents in that sense. I don't know. And teams, I think, are just scared when they play against him, to be honest, because he's just that good.
I mean, it definitely takes people's minds off, and obviously we're talking about the one injury that we have got now, because it really has come at a bad time for the guy. Patrick Doherty out for the rest of the season. in his last 7 games, his stats alone show you how much he's improved. 3 assists and 2 goals in his last 7. That is a real, I think we'll be able to get through to the end of the season without him, but it is a blow because we finally looked like we had the player we all thought we were getting from Wolves, didn't we?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a big blow. I mean, they showed it on Sky Sports this morning, and he's up there with the most creative players since I think February the 2nd or something like that. So, yeah, it's a big blow because he was really making that right back spot his own, or the right wing back spot his own, and he was somebody that we was enjoying watching playing. Like he was confident on the ball again. He was moving forward, and he was the guy we signed from Wolves because when we played Wolves, he always had a good game. And he got on the score sheet. He caused us problems. He was starting to do that in the games for us. So it's a big shame, man. I'm just, a lot of people are slating Emerson Royale and saying that we're finished now and this and that. But I don't think Royale's as bad as people are making him out to be. And I mean, he's played in the last 2 games.
His stats are not that bad.
Yeah,
exactly. he scored a couple recently in that. So
I think Royale's a good player. Obviously, he's not Doherty yet. But, if we give him Doherty all that time, why can't Royale come good? And we've also got obviously Reguilon and Sessegnon back, so I don't think it's as bad as some people are making it out to be. But of course, Doherty being injured is a blow, and you just don't hope. You hope it's not the beginning of a domino effect. So I just want us to stay positive. I don't want any excuses. We've got more than enough to win the games and see them out. And obviously, we wish Matt Doherty a speedy recovery. That's all we can do.
Yeah, so Jacob, obviously, after that, we as you say, we come through that first half. I was glad, like you, because I think, right, get them in. Conte can get hold of them and basically, sort out the little things that might not have been going so well. Whatever people were doing that we felt we needed those little tweaks. And as Patrick alluded to earlier, one of them was starting to say, listen, let's avoid that press by getting the ball further, a bit forward, a bit quicker. We come out and like the first half, the perfect response, isn't it? Within 5 minutes, Kulusevski, a long ball, Kane wins the aerial battle, Kulusevski gets it down. And I have to say, what a finish. From that angle on his left foot, that was a great finish. And that just, again, sets the tone for that half, doesn't it?
That's it, yeah. And I'm glad Conte noticed that as well because when I did my preview for the game, I looked at the.
Alan's not a fan. Alan's not looking forward to the rest of the season.
No. But yeah, going back to your question, it was like you looked at Villa and from the lineup. I said it in the preview that we're going to have a problem centrally because you had the 3 in midfield, and then it was pretty obvious they were going to play Coutinho in the hole rather than. Him going on the left and say Danny Ings going on the right or something because they played 2 strikers. So I remember saying that Bentancur and Hoy were going to have to get their work cut out because if they focus on Coutinho, that allows McGinn and all these guys to bomb on and, Jacob Ramsey, he's a quality youngster. You're thinking it's inviting all that pressure. So in my mind, I kept saying it, when we kept dilly-dallying and we were playing these 1-2s, I think what the idea was to play all them little intricate passes in the middle and try and catch them on the counter. But Villa had pressed and we weren't finding no space because they were effectively playing 4 central midfielders with 2 strikers pressing. So it was like you've literally got 6 people putting pressure on our midfield, on our central midfield and defence, which, to be fair, I've always said that if you pack out our midfield against Spurs, you'll probably, and you do it properly, you probably could outdo them. So that's one thing you've got to be mindful of because, as I keep alluding to, when we go to Anfield, that's the reason why Liverpool are so good because they will pack out their midfield and they will. If they dominate that midfield, they just beat everybody when they do that. That's the reason why they do it. So I'm glad that he did it direct because you got to mix up the game. And like when we played Liverpool, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I remember for the first 5 minutes we were trying to play it tippy tappy, and then as soon as we were getting caught out once or twice, it was just like none of that no more. And because we were so direct and they pressed so high. There was a point where we could have, if Harry Kane.
Well, that game we should have been 3 up at half time easily in Liverpool at home, shouldn't we?
Yeah. Exactly. The Kane and Son that we've got right now, if we had them on that day, they probably would have conceded 9. That's how stupid it was. I'm not even exaggerating. I remember speaking to my cousin, who's a proper Scouser, and he was just like, I couldn't believe what was going on. But it's one of those where you've got to be able to go direct, not like Mourinho, where it's like you're playing 20 long balls and it's not working, and he's just like, right, I'm just going to stick another lump up there. It's more about, you know, mixing it up. And I remember Pat alluding to it a few weeks ago where everybody thought we were a counter-attacking team.
Yeah.
But effectively, you look at it and go, right, you know, we take the lead and we do keep the ball pretty well. And, you know, if Harry Kane's picking up in them positions, it's brilliant. If we could just find an attacking midfielder. So effectively, if we had Coutinho, you could mix it up. You could go direct. But if you want to play it like that, Coutinho will turn them corners and get you out of it. So Conte smashed it with what he did tactically, because it was pretty clear that whatever tactics we were doing for the last half hour weren't working. Direct football, for me, if you're under the cosh and people are pressing you, don't try and beat the press by a pass, especially when you haven't got a creative midfielder. Just hit it long. And if you've got people like Harry Kane, you know, this guy's assisting that many that he assisted 2 goals with his head.
Yeah, I mean, Harry, you know, that second half, that assist from Kane for Son's goal. I mean, like we've said it weeks and weeks on here, you know, me and Patrick have had these interactions with people on Twitter where they just want to keep saying, no, Harry Kane isn't in the bracket of world class, and the only player I'm taking from Spurs is Son. And you're like, right, you're not taking Harry Kane, no, the best striker in the world. But that assist with the header, again, it just puts the guy and shows everybody he's on a level above, isn't he? Because you can actually see in that replay the look as to, right, where's Son? Right, you're there, here, right, okay. So this little flip like that is going to put you away. It's just special, that partnership, isn't it?
I think like Conte sort of built on what Mourinho started with Son and Kane, and he's sort of done it in a slightly different way now because he's added Kulusevski. So Kulusevski's given just like a different option. But I think like with Kane, he's just a class above everyone else. He's just so good. I'll run out superlatives to describe Kane. So.
Is this, and this is a question I'll ask all of you guys, is this the best version of Harry Kane we've seen?
Yeah.
In his time at Spurs?
I think so.
Patrick, what do you think?
That's a tough one, because I'd probably say last season, because he maintained it for the whole season. But if he can get to, what's he on now? He's on 8 assists and he's on about 12 goals. If he can get to 12 assists and
15,
20 goals, then you have to say hands down. And he's more than capable of doing that, especially in the run-ins, because he's starting to score in bunches again. I would have said yes if he didn't have half a season off. But the fact that he had literally a summer break that went on till January, you have to put it into context. So it's a tough one. Probably, if we're being real, he's in the form of his life right now. But I would say last season, because he won both the Golden Boot and the Playmaker Award, how can you not give him that for last season, if you get what I mean? But I know, think, as the eye test and as fans, we know right now he's 100% playing better. But it's just what he did last season for me was insane.
I think for me the big difference between last season and this season is he looks a bit fitter now under Conte than compared to Mourinho. He looks a bit sharper, like a yard sharper.
Yeah, Jacob, what do you think? Is this version of him the best you think you've seen at the club, or do you think there are other seasons where you think, I would have said that season was where he was probably his best version?
It's a hard one because he's adapted his position. It's like, if we're going to say the Harry Kane that drops off and does the role sort of Teddy Sheringham-ish, you'd say it's this season and last season, and you'd obviously probably go with last season because he did it for a full season. And at a time where if he wasn't doing it, we probably would have finished 12th. But if you're going to go Harry Kane as a number 9, I don't know, man. Probably the last season at White Hart Lane, or, you know, there's a few seasons, you know, that season where he was just...
Well, he's racking numbers up to beat Messi and Ronaldo at one point, wasn't he? You know, 17, 18.
That calendar year where he got 50, I think it's like 54 goals, I think. Obviously, that's sandwiched between 2 seasons, but that was the time when I was just like, this guy is just a monster. But he's just been brilliant the whole time around. You know, if someone says to me, name your top 10 Harry Kane moments, they come quite quick and they involve me either beating up my husband or beating up myself. My husband?
Husband?
What?
Where I got that from?
There's a COYS exclusive for you, folks. There's a highlight going out in the week.
By the end of the day, probably.
there's somebody that I was speaking to yesterday, and there's this girl telling me about her husband, so I don't know where that comes from.
Well.
He's been beating up my cousin, yeah.
Well, we'll see what the Twitterverse thinks of that in the week, Jacob, shall we?
I'm getting cut up, so it looked like me and my husband have domestic.
Oh dear.
But yeah, I'll go back to the question anyway, lads.
Please.
It'd probably be the season when Harry Kane scored a double in the North London derby to win us a 2-1. I think it was that season where I loved him most, probably because he was still raw and everyone was calling him a one-season wonder. So I'll probably edge towards that season.
The Pirate, that's the season when he rammed the Guna Pirates words right down his throat, didn't he?
That's the one, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was breakthrough season, I think.
That was it, it was, yeah. So if we're saying Kane, we're looking at Kane, Harry, Son, is this the best version of Son? Because, a hat-trick at the weekend just to keep the goals flowing. He's having one hell of a season, isn't he?
I think with Son also, people not really, I don't know if they're noticing it now, but even on his bad days, he's still scoring like 2 or 3 goals. It's crazy. And I just think he just knows where he needs to be and the right place, right time. And his finishing has just got even more clinical than before. That's what I've noticed this season.
It is, yeah, definitely.
At the start, when we had, I hate to remind people of this, when we had Nuno at the beginning, Son was still pulling out the performances for us when Kane was, not happy. So I think he's just been sensational again. And I think he's sort of just adapted also to the Conte system quite well recently. Because I know there was a lot of people on Twitter talking about, like, oh, he doesn't fit the system. Because obviously it's more narrow compared to, like, a 4-3-3, for example, when he actually had the wide areas. Now he's playing more in field. But I think he's sort of adapted to it now. And he just knows where to be now. And he's just scoring it. Like, I think the last goal, the Kulusevski assist goal.
Yeah.
That was just, for me, that was just top class because he just hit it first time. He just went straight in. He's too good. And I think, like, obviously Kane and Son are our best players, probably, along with a couple others, and they're probably our most important players. But for me, with Son, I think he's probably in the world-class bracket now.
Yeah, Patrick.
I don't see how he can't be now, to be honest with you.
Obviously, Patrick, we had a few weeks ago when Tans was on, wasn't we? And we had this discussion of, like, it is Son in that world-class bracket because there was a period of time where you get to either one or two Sons, wasn't it? You get the one where you go, was Son even playing this yesterday? Or the one where he scored a hat-trick like yesterday, and you go, well, the guy is untouchable in that form. So I know, you've been fully bandwagon that Son is in that world-class bracket, and he's continuing to prove it at the moment, isn't he?
Exactly. I mean, anyone that doubted him for me is insane. And I've been arguing with even Tottenham fans that doubted him. But the guy's insane, man. That the clinicalness of his finishing on both feet, how fast he is. He never breaks a stride when he's running onto balls. The control at speed, the fact that he can dribble. He also can pass the ball and he picks out players. He's immense. I mean, you don't really get that many wide forwards in Europe that are doing what he's doing. He's on 17 goals. He's only 3 behind Salah. People have been lauding Salah for having a season of his life and everything like that. Sonny's only 3 behind him. He's comfortably second in the league in scoring. He's immense. I mean, he got 18 goals last season. He's already on 17. So that speaks for itself. And we still got like 7 games left.
I actually think with Son also, just to add that, because of his nationality, I think he doesn't get noticed as much. Because if he was like Sonninho or something,
he'd be getting
like Sonninho, everyone would be like, "Oh my god,
he's Brazilian, Italian, Argentinian, and there's that same player." They would, it'd be. I mean, over in South Korea, he is a god though. So we're not like he's.
In all fairness, he does it for them as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. I'm just saying, like,
he's not doing it for the country,
like the wider world. I think, like, because he's South Korean, he's not like Brazilian or Argentine or Spanish or something like that. Definitely. He doesn't get noticed as much.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, he is on form, and obviously we're gonna look at the Brighton game coming up now. Obviously this weekend, and yet again we're gonna play the fixture first this weekend ahead of Arsenal, who go away at Southampton. So Jacob, again, this is a real opportunity to go and make sure that we put another marker down and apply the pressure to Arsenal to have to go and perform and get a result at Southampton. Obviously, given their result this weekend, you'd like to think they're going to look back to bounce back at home in front of them fans and put that right. So we really, and obviously given Brighton have just gone to Arsenal and turned them over, we really do have to make sure, don't we, that we don't take this game lightly thinking when it's Brighton at home, this is 3 points in the bag. We've got to make sure we turn up and make sure we apply the pressure and see how Arsenal can cope with that now, haven't we?
That's it, yeah. We've got to win it, of course. As fans, we want to win that and then put our feet up. But I think with world-class managers, you always hear them, that they say that, we take one game at a time. And then, you think to yourself, oh, you're just saying that. But you look at your Guardiola and Klopp, they literally take a game at a time, and that's the reason why they're so close, because they've got world-class squads and they just go game by game. They literally, there's times where they're managing games to perfection, and you're thinking, how do you do this week in, week out with each other on its tails? And I think Conte's in that bracket. You just need to obviously give him the squad. Granted, maybe Tottenham might not be the club to disrupt the Man City Liverpool thing, but we've got a manager that's probably the only one in Europe probably capable of giving them to a headache. So I think when we go into Brighton, he's just going to be saying it don't matter what happens. If we've got that attitude where we know Man United lost, we knew Arsenal lost. I think going into Aston Villa, the Tottenham players will feel a lot more pressure in that game at Aston Villa, knowing they've got to win that to secure the full spot, than going into this one, because we can say, right, let's just go and do what we did against Brighton in the last two fixtures this season. And if we do that, it's an opportunity for us to put our feet up. Liverpool have got, Man United have got Liverpool coming up soon. Arsenal, Southampton.
United anymore?
What's that? No,
United anymore, or even West Ham? I to be honest now, I think it's a 2-horse race for that top four now.
What it is, you'd like to put people to bed, because you think about you say about 3 weeks ago, we were talking about, everybody was pretty much talking about Tottenham being out of it and it being out of Man United and Arsenal as a top up, with Arsenal pretty much solidifying it. And then, in the space of 2-3 weeks, Arsenal, and their fans are worrying about, are we even going to finish in the top 5? Man United are out of it, but then it's like Man United are in a position that we were in about 3 weeks ago. I don't think they'll push forward, but them going to Anfield, that's where, if we continue our vein of form, you can look at Man United and think you ain't coming out of Anfield and winning that. So it's like, you look at, I think Arsenal get points again against Southampton. If it's a Southampton that turned up against us twice in 3 weeks, Arsenal ain't winning that, because Southampton can turn up. They've got some really good players. So, but again, there's no point in us focusing on Arsenal. If you're wondering, what Southampton's going to do in your Harry Kane, then you're going to take your mind off what we actually need to do and just keep winning. And if we win the rest of our games, there's nothing Arsenal can do about it. So we just got to focus on the game at a time. And I generally think that when we were predicting quite a few W's, it's like part of you think, is it going to be Spursy? But you're looking at the way it is, we probably could bear fruit. We probably could end up being right and having a good laugh at the end of the season, saying that, look at all them W's we put on, and they were actually right.
Yeah, Patrick, are you going into this game at the weekend against Brighton confidently, and thinking we will lay that marker down, given the form we're in and the fact that the one good thing I think we've got is a manager that won't allow any lapse of, right, listen, don't just think this is done now. We turn up and that's it, the game's won. I think you've got a manager there that's going to say, listen, each game is a cup final. This is now the next most important game of the season. Are you confident?
Yeah, I'm very confident. I had this down as a win before. I know, and it's not even, obviously Conte is a huge factor, but I honestly believe at the age now that Son and Kane are at, and even like Hugo Lloris, there's experience sprinkled through the team. These guys have been there, done that, and that's a massive advantage and bonus over Arsenal. We've qualified for Champions League football many a time before. We've played in the Champions League. These guys know what they need to do to get back there. And it's just like the last time we played Brighton. We'll respect them because they are a good team on their day. We know that for certain, because even after a bad run of form, they go and outplay Arsenal at home. So we know they're more than capable. But if we play our game, we beat them, and we beat them comfortably. So we just need to respect them, not overthink it. It's the first game on the weekend. We know those 12:30 kickoffs can always be a bit patchy and sketchy, as we saw what happened with Man United and Everton. There's always a banana skin in there for those early, weekend fixtures. But I honestly believe we go there and we put them to the sword. But I'm not even trying to say in an arrogant way. I just know if we play our game, don't do anything silly defensively, we will pretty much beat them 2 or 3-0.
Yeah, Harry, given the form we're in, the front three, like as we say, there's no defence in, I'd say, even in Europe right now that probably wants to come up against our front three. So do you just think the Brighton game will be another game where we go and exert that sort of dominant performance? Like as Patrick said, yes, you can't write Brighton off, or that, they're kind of on the beach at the moment, and you can see that some weeks in their performances, but then they are capable of putting in a performance like they did at the Emirates. But do you still believe we're too strong for them?
I mean, I don't think it was as easy as people think. I think it'll be a lot harder game, but I think we'll get the job done like 2-0 or something like that. And Kane and Son will probably score as predicted. But we should get the job done. There's no real excuse not to.
Yeah, I'm feeling
I don't see us not winning. So
yeah. I think there's a confidence and I think the side are showing and giving off an air of confidence, aren't they? In that fact that a game might be tough, but we can change it up. And one thing that I'm really pleased about, you used to see a Spurs side that would never come out in the second half. Well, we're now seeing a Spurs side that the second half you think they're going to come out and they're going to put in and lay a marker early on.
Looking back, the West Ham win was like a massive thing for us, and I think psychologically that's given us the momentum in the top 4 race.
Yeah,
I think it's shown because obviously we're taking teams to the sword, so I don't expect us not to beat Brighton. I'll be very shocked if we lose that game, to be honest.
Yeah,
I still think it'll make it difficult for us probably in the first half, but I think we'll get the job done. I don't see us not winning, so.
Yeah, okay, so that's some score predictions then. Patrick, what are you going with? Score prediction for this weekend?
3-0.
3-0, confident 3-0. Jacob?
3-1. I think Brighton have got their confidence back, so they'll be a little scared. I think they'll score a goal, so I think it'll get to the point where we're 2-1 up, but then we've just got the quality up front to find the third, so I'll go 3-1.
And Harry, you're going to stick to 2-0, or are you going to?
I think we'll be 1-0 up at half time and then get the second in like the 70th minute or something in the second half. I don't think it'll be as easy as people think.
Oh, well, see, I'm going to go confident here. I'm saying
we're going to win. So
here.
I think just with Tottenham, I just expect drama. I think that's what it is, really. So it's like, something will happen probably.
See, what's your prediction, Carl? I didn't hear you.
4-1 for me, I'm going. I think they're going to continue to flow.
4-1, okay.
So, I think when you look at our scoring at the moment, I think, if this is a game, it'll be a tight game because, like I say, Brighton are not a bad side. But if the Brighton turn up that are on the beach like they have been a few previous weeks, then I could really see us getting 4 or 5, steamrolling them. If it's tight, I still think we win. And then it might be a 3-1, but I see us getting at least 3 the way the form we're in.
Definitely, same. I agree with that, and I think it's a tricky one. Because even at 3-0, I think they will definitely come out and play, but that suits us. We can go toe to toe with these teams. And if they do switch off, like you're saying, it could be like a Southampton-Chelsea game where they get absolutely pummeled, and they're more than capable. But I think that Southampton result is a fantastic one for us as well, because they will 100% want to bounce back in the next game, and lo and behold, they got Arsenal. So they've got a point to prove now to themselves and to their manager, and that goes nicely in our favour because Chelsea humiliated them. And Southampton on the day it's a weird one because Southampton on the day are a good team, but they're always susceptible to get battered as well. Like when we
I think there's a lot of teams like that in the Premier League now.
Yeah, like they're just a bit. They can go either way. Brighton as well. Yeah. They can go either way. They could either beat you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Brighton definitely. I mean, obviously, the great thing for a team like Brighton at the moment, and it's probably the shame with Southampton, is they're effectively on the beach, aren't they? They know season, they're not going down. There's nothing really to fight for. But as you say, that Southampton result, and the great thing about playing first, we're yet to see if Arsenal can handle this pressure, aren't we? And the 2 previous results will show you that could be starting to get to them. And someone saying, "Well, listen, we've done our job. Over to you, Southampton away." if they lose that one, then you're really starting to say, well, the fight's not in them anymore. It's gone potentially.
And they've got to play United. Do they have to play United and Chelsea?
Yeah, they've got to play United and Chelsea.
So a defeat here at Southampton, I think that kills them.
Yeah, I think if they don't even win, I mean, if they drop points, they're dead as well. Because
if they drop points,
essentially,
we win.
Yeah, if we win, I mean, our goal difference is already +10. The way we've converted that is crazy. They were above us on points, and they had a much better goal difference. So if we win and they drop points, I think mentally they're done already.
Yeah. Now,
also, with Arsenal, that counts against them compared to us, as Arteta's inexperienced and the squad's quite experienced. And I think that's the advantage we have in the race.
I mean, the fans weren't happy with his team selection this weekend against Brighton, were they? So, as you say, he's making some mistakes there, and that inexperience might show. Now, before we go, we've got some questions from Alan. Good questions from Alan here. And now, when we look at the injuries to Doherty, his first question, which I get your thoughts on, was around, would Lucas or Stevie B possibly be options at right wing back? So,
can I start this one?
Yeah, go on, Patrick.
The answer is no. We just spoke about Arteta making mistakes, and all jokes aside, this would be a massive mistake. We have fullbacks that need to play in their position. What Arteta done against Brighton, which gifted them the game, is that he put Xhaka. They already lost a midfielder in Partey. You then go and put your second best midfielder, who's Xhaka, in at left back. And you also have a left back on the bench you don't use. So you've essentially nullified your midfield, and you're also using a midfielder in left back. So it's just, you've weakened two positions. So us doing that, we weaken the right back position, and we also weaken one of our attacking threats who we always bring on to cause them problems later on in the 70th or 75th minute. So the answer is no. We have fullbacks. Let them be played in their position. For me, like I keep saying, Emerson Royale's not as bad as people are making him out to be. I don't really get the agenda. Yeah, he's not that great on the ball, but defensively he's decent. And to be fair, whenever he has played, he's done okay. So let him play. It's his first season here. There's a lot going on in terms of the language barrier, him learning a new system. He was bought as a right back. He's having to play right wing back. I don't think he's as bad as people are making him out to be. But us making and chopping changing this late in the season, it's got disaster written all over it. So for me, it's a big no.
Jacob, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'll go with. If it got to the point where Emerson Royal got injured, then I'd be like, well, we've got to do something here. You know what I mean? You can't be playing regular or Sonsational on the opposite flank. It just wouldn't make sense. And then we've got, I don't think we've got any centre halves bar maybe Tanganga that could do it, who's injured. So if we got to the point where Emerson Royal got injured, granted, but I think literally Pat said what Alder said. It's like when you start putting people into positions that you've already got backup for, then it's like, one, you're going to dent the confidence of Emerson Royal. If say you put Lucas Moura there. And two, it's like Lucas Moura might be great going forward, so you can see that part of it, but he might get exposed going the other way. You know what I mean? If we got to the point where we put, let's say you got to the point where Emerson Royal's had a few bad games, and then we decide, all right, we're going to go and play a better side that we've got in the running. So say, I think, again, I'll go to Liverpool. If Klopp wakes up in the morning and sees Lucas Moura right back, he's just going to be like, right, just keep giving the ball to Mane. They'll put Luis Diaz out there. Going forward, Diaz might not want to run the other way, but then Luis Diaz will be looking at Lucas Moura thinking, this is light work. You know what I mean? Whereas Emerson Royal, granted, on the ball, he's especially in the first half of Villa, he was quite sloppy in terms of his passing. It did annoy me. But I think with Romero on that side of him, and then, Bentancur come over to help him, I think his form has slowly got a little bit better. I'm not going to say he's the finished article, but I just think because it's an unnatural position, Bentancur and Romero coming over to help him out when he's getting pummeled helps him out. And I just think that he will grow in confidence. And I remember that's what happened with Victor Moses. Victor Moses got played out there. But then they had a midfield and a defence that was coming over to help him out with Azpilicueta and I think it was Matic at the time. But then he got to the point where once he felt comfortable in that position, those guys managed to get on with their own game while he flourished. So there's no reason why Emerson Royal can't do it, considering he's used to that position anyway.
Yeah, Harry, your thoughts on that one? Is that something you'd consider?
now's not the time to start experimenting. So yeah, whether we like it or not, Emerson's gonna have to start as a right wing back. I'm not.
And his
I'm
form
not,
in the last couple of games hasn't been that
I'm not
bad,
his
has it?
biggest
He
fan.
scored a couple.
I'm not his biggest fan. I'm not gonna lie and say I rate Emerson because I don't really, but he can do a job there for like 7 games that we need to the end of the season. I feel like he can do a job. Obviously, if Emerson gets injured, we're gonna have to try and do something different. Like I could even see Conte playing even Sessegnon or what's the other one? Reguilon on one of the sides because he did that before. I can't remember what game it was. He put Sessegnon on the right or something, and he put Reguilon on the left. I don't remember what game it was, but he played like the fullbacks, the wing backs, sorry, either side on their weaker side once. So I think he could do that even with then.
Alan is definitely not a fan.
I'm not a fan of
Royal.
I don't think in the long term he'll make it as a wing back. I don't think he has the attributes to do it. But we kind of have to stick with him because it's not the time to start experimenting and start sticking Lucas at wing back. Maybe at the end of the season, last game of the season, and we're ready 4th, and we can't finish 3rd or something, try some experiment and play Bergwijn and Lucas as wing backs just to see how it goes. But right now is not the time.
Okay, so we think we've answered that one. Alan, unfortunately, that one we've been in that one off. Now, his next question, and I think I already know the answer that all you guys will give to this one, is I'm guessing this is into the thing. If Son is close to that golden boot, does Harry Kane give up penalties if Son can get the golden boot?
No.
I can't see Harry Kane giving up any penalty at all.
He doesn't even give up free kicks.
I think that one is a solid no. But now, Alan's last question is a really interesting one, and one that I'd be definitely interested to get you guys' thoughts. And it is one that makes you kind of wonder. And now, this is a great question. Where do you, and I'll go to each of you to give your answers on this one individually. So last question, and to start with you, Patrick, where do you think Tottenham would have been if we'd had Conte from the start of the season?
3rd or 4th. I don't think we would have challenged for the league. That would have been new. You know what? To be fair, I don't know, to be honest. It's actually, when I actually start thinking deeper about it, if we get Conte from the beginning of the season, would he have been backed? I don't know. Would we have got the sign?
Let's add to that questioning and say, if we had the same side that we've got now with Conte at the start of the season as manager, where do you think that side finishes?
Then I think we would be 3rd right now. We would have pushed Chelsea for 3rd if we would have had Kulusevski and Bentancur. But it's such a loaded question because would we have got them then? Would Juventus would have allowed them to go then?
I think so.
Yeah, so, but if Conte came in the summer and we got equivalents to what Conte believed we needed, then I think we would be 3rd or 4th, but we wouldn't be challenging for the league. Possibly would have done better in one of the cups, but we'd probably be kind of where we are right now. I don't know. It's quite a hard question to answer because then also I'm starting to think if you have a pre-season and you have more time and he has maybe would have, but no way do we catch Liverpool and City. Like they're just light years ahead, but I think we'd be in the top 4 conversation just like we are right now, really.
Yeah, Jacob, what's your thoughts on that? Where do you think if Conte had come in the summer and, like I say, you'd had Kulusevski and Bentancur? I'm with Patrick. I don't, Liverpool and Man City, they're just on a different planet right now to most teams. So I don't think you're catching them because I don't think we could have been consistent for enough. They're out the equation. So I'm like Patrick. I think you're talking 3rd or 4th. Do you think though we'd have had, even if it was 4th, this would be sewn up right now? It would just be now a case of that's your top 4.
Yeah, I think it would have been. Obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but you think to yourself, I think if he got all the players that he wanted and also had a pre-season, it would have been one of those ones where, September, October, November, everyone's like Tottenham for the title because obviously everybody's doing their thing. But then it would have just got to the point where December, maybe because Conte's focused on us getting there, we're trying to keep up. But then it just we probably would have done what Chelsea have done, as in like you're trying to keep up, you're in the frame, but then you just got 2 monsters. Chelsea, you look at their squad. I had at one point, I'd say I said at the beginning of the season, I was like, I think Chelsea are going to do it, but then it got to the point where Lukaku dropped off form, and then there were certain players that weren't playing well. Kante was injured for a long time, and they just dropped off. And it's like you can spend all the money you want, but then when you've got managers like this, you've got to do a lot more than just spend loads of money. But
I think as well, you've also would have to throw into that mix. You'd probably be in free competition still.
That's it. Yeah.
So you wouldn't be having right now a week between each game is amazing, isn't it? Because you get that time to work on the training ground, get your message across. You know, if Conte had been here from the start of the season, we're probably still in the Conference League with a chance of looking at winning that. You're still in the cup, one of the the FA Cup or something, and them games are coming thick and fast still, aren't they?
Exactly that, yeah. So I think, like you said, I didn't even think I forgot about the Conference Cup. To be fair, if we were in that from the beginning, granted, he would have rotated players, but I think if we were at the stage where Leicester are at now, and you see Leicester in it and Roma, you're kind of thinking, well, we'll meet them along the way potentially. But if we get one of them in the final, we should be able to dispatch of them either. Especially if we're playing the way we are now. If we played Mourinho's Roma right now, the only thing that would worry me is Mourinho. But the team on its own wouldn't really bother me. I think our defence will be able to handle Tammy Abraham. So it's just one of those, like you say, hindsight is a wonderful thing. And if we're thinking like that, then we should be overly happy as to what's going to happen next year, because Man United will still be in disarray. If we've got top four, you'll have Arsenal. They'll start doing the Arteta out again. West Ham, are they going to do that again? Highly unlikely. Chelsea will always be Chelsea. They're that club now, and then you've got the two monsters. So you'd like to think the way the season's going, and what I've said, like I said, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But if Conte gets us Champions League,
let's get him on or something.
We'll just dispatch to the others.
Yeah, Harry, what are you thinking if Conte had been here?
I don't think it'd be as a massive difference as people think, because it's still his first season. So I still think we'll probably be more comfortable in fourth, but I can't see us being third. I think Chelsea just have a little bit more. And I think maybe we'll be further in the cups than we were before. Like Conference League is a good point. We'll probably still be in that. But I don't think it'll be like such a huge difference, because again, there's a question mark of, would he be backed in the summer? Because we don't know. It's something I can't really answer. And I felt like the summer signings were a bit of a mess anyway, in the sense that I didn't know what kind of players and what the plan was under someone like Nuno. Maybe under Conte, he would have gone for more specialised, like a specialised right wing back instead of Emerson, for example, and that sort of thing. But we don't really know in that sense. But if we're talking just the players we have, and say we had the same signings, I still think we'll just be fourth, just more comfortable, and maybe still in the Europa League conference. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing this has shown us, and hopefully you like to think that this the way we're playing right now and the way the season could end up panning out, is, if anything, you're just hoping that for once this is showing the board, isn't it? That, right, listen, you have finally got the bloke, that now is the time to back this guy, because, when you look at the way we're playing right now, there was 2 signings in January that have come in and made all the difference. If you can in the summer bring in, say, another 3 that improve the side even more, with what he's already got, and 3 more players on top of that, the right players, this manager could take you to the next level. Again, with Liverpool and City may still be too far ahead of you right now, but you are talking thirds, you are talking cups, and you are talking title pushes, aren't you? Is that what you're hoping for that for?
I think with Liverpool and City, you're going to need 2 years to bridge the gap with them. Like 4 transfer windows probably, and obviously you may pick up like 1 or 2 players in those Januaries, but we're talking summer windows. The 2 summer windows are probably the most important, and you have to get them both right. And obviously pray that someone like Salah leaves Liverpool or something, or Pep leaves City or something, and they need some sort of like what's the word? Some sort of chaos or some sort of problem for us to kind of bridge the gap, I think.
See, I feel more confident with Conte, because I think Conte is a manager who can go toe-to-toe with a Pep. He can go toe-to-toe with a Klopp if he has the right team. I don't fear those 2 managers against our manager right now. And we've kind of proved that at City, didn't we?
If we give them players he wants, like a specialised right wing back, specialised players in the positions he wants, then we could go toe to toe with them. But you also have to take into consideration they've had, say, 3 or 4 years of title experience, let's say, being in title charges.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And like with us, it'll be quite new. So we'll still be like the dark horse in the 3-horse race. We're talking hypothetically here. So, yeah, I mean, with the right players, Conte could do like amazing things with us, but it's to do with the right profile. And I think with him, it's very like specialized type of players and special in certain positions for it to work, especially with the system we play.
Yeah, it's all going to be. So go on, Jacob.
If you look at, I was talking to my cousin yesterday because he's a Liverpool fan, so we were discussing the game, and I was just like, it's mad because, you know, if you're Man United, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, for instance, if you want to go and compete with these sides, it's not. Of course, we've got Conte, and we have got probably the third best manager in the league. You know, Tommy Tuchel's up there as well, but you think to yourself like if you sat down with Klopp and Guardiola in confidence at the beginning of the season and said to them, how many points do you reckon you need to win the league, right? They're talking 95 points. You know, when Fergie was winning them, Fergie was talking, Fergie was winning the league at 81s, 82s, 83s. These guys, you're looking at
100 points, basically.
They're both on 70. I think it's like City are on 74.
Well, yeah, but Jacob, you say this, today has come out, it's still mathematically possible we can win the league if results go the way we...
Yeah, so we'll lose all their games and we win.
I loved it when I saw that today, someone saying, look, I've worked it out, we can still win the league here. You're just going like, wow, the fact that you've even thought that's possible, I'd love some of what you're smoking, my man.
I think like, the Liverpool City game showed what different class they are compared to everyone else.
I think it's one of those where if you're gonna compete with them boys, one, you need to create a machine that's as formidable as those, and you probably need to rely on other teams in the league having a bit more confidence, because we all know that when people go to the Etihad, the only teams that I've seen in the last 3 or 4 years that go to Man City and say, you know what, we're going to actually give it a go, is Tottenham, Liverpool, maybe Man United, and that's stretch Crystal Palace. You know, they've gone there and got a couple of Crystal Palace. But then Crystal Palace have had a little bit of luck on their side with sending offs. Tottenham have always got this stigma on Man City, and we've had that before they got the money. Even as a youngster, when it was like we play Man City, I knew we was going to beat them. And then you've got Man United. I think it's just the rivalry in itself, and then Liverpool are just as good as them. But then effectively, everyone just goes there and says, "No, we're not going to bother." Everyone goes to Anfield. We're not going to bother. So Norwich could go and play Man City, and they'd be like, you know what? Let's just keep it at 4. They'll go to Liverpool. Let's keep it at 4. Tottenham could be just as good, but because of the team and the brand, for some reason, Norwich should give it a go. So we need to, as much as we need to rely on ourselves, you kind of need to rely on other teams also having the bottle to beat Liverpool and Man City. So when they do drop points and you capitalise, and that's when you get yourself in the title challenge, because at the minute, they're not doing that. And that's why they're getting to the point where they need to, they're comfortably saying they need 90 to 95 points to win the league. And then they're going toe to toe. It looks like it's going to be like whoever wins it is going to be on 96 and the other one's going to be on 94. It's just crazy numbers.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting time, and like I say, we can only hope that what's happening towards the end of the season gives the board the ultimate ammunition to say, yeah, listen, that's finally back the manager properly, and who knows where we go from there. But that's full time, I'm afraid, chaps. I think we've reached what we needed to for tonight. Great show. So for me, the admin is just to say, Alan in the chat and the other people in the chat, thanks very much. Like we said, make sure you give us a like, subscribe. We're nearly at 100 subscribers, so make sure you click that subscribe button. We're bringing you some great stuff, and obviously that will continue. Thank my guest for tonight, Sir Patrick. Appreciate you joining us again, and hopefully you're back on Monday.
Yeah, definitely. It was a pleasure. Hopefully we'll talk about another win. And long may this good run of form continue, man. Let's go. Definitely.
And Jacob, you'll be back on Monday as well. And again, like as Patrick said, hopefully this run of wins and our mystic COYS that we've predicted, the W's keep coming.
Yeah, hopefully, we have something that will brighten up my day. You know what I mean? You like a little one there, don't you? So
we can't have you beating your husband up anymore, so you need to make sure that the results come to keep you happy.
He better not. He better not.
Great moment. And Harry,
Yeah.
brilliant debut tonight, mate. And hopefully, we may get you back before the end of the season as well.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for having me on. It's been brilliant. I just enjoy
Welcome,
talking
Harry.
about Tottenham. So
Absolute pleasure, mate. Absolute pleasure.
I mean, we could carry on for another hour. I'd probably still.
That's good stuff. That's excellent. So, chaps, really appreciate that tonight. And like as we say, let's get back here next Monday for another win. And as always, we'll see you next week. Come on, you Spurs.